Welcome to Skyline Scotland 2025. Before I get started with this briefing, I wanted to say a huge and really heartfelt thank you to Salomon, who have supported Skyline Scotland since the very first edition way back in 2015. So let's get started. My name is Shane Ohly and I am the Event Director for Skyline Scotland. I'm very much looking forward to welcoming you all to the Nevis Range, Fort William, very soon. Almost everything that I say here will be relevant to all 7 races, although there are some subtle differences which I'll point out as we go through. All of this information should be kind of considered in conjunction with the participant information pack, which has already been emailed to you. There's 16 slides. I'm going to go at a decent pace. I hope that this can be done in about 20 minutes, and you can either watch this as a video or perhaps even listen to it as an audio file. And what I hope is that you'll come to the event with a really good understanding of what we expect of you and what you can expect from us as organisers, so that you can have the best possible experience at Skyline Scotland. So first of all, what I am not going to do is read to you the details on the website. So if you have any questions about, the timing of registration or where you need to park, either read the website or get in touch with us. So email, phone, live chat, we're really happy to help you out. What we have learnt at our long expedition events like the Dragon's Back Race and Cape Wrath Ultra is that having this briefing is really helpful for setting expectations for everybody, and this allows the event to run really smoothly. I'm sorry if this feels a little overboard perhaps, and it's probably not the norm for a trail race that you might have entered in the past. However, Skyline Scotland is very complex. We have almost 2,000 participants, almost 200 event staff, 7 races happening simultaneously, and there's a lot of logistics and operations and ultimately everyone's safety that we need to ensure happens correctly, and we only get one chance to get it right. So hopefully much of the functional information here will help you understand how the event will run, and when you arrive we could all concentrate on giving you absolutely brilliant experience at Skyline Scotland. Also, it gives you the chance to just think about this and ask any questions before you get to the event. Okay, let's get cracking. So first of all, I hope you all know what you're letting yourself in for. So there are 2 mountain races, in particular the Ben Nevis Skyline and the Steel Marathon, go over really high, serious mountain terrain. It's technical and it's subject to some very poor and rapidly changing weather. It's technical, so it's slow going for all but the best runners. The Jacobite 100 mostly follows very good kind of glen, valley-based trails, and it's runnable and easy going. However, it's extremely remote in the first half, and that is arguably the best bit. And it also has an 8-kilometre section along the shore of Glen Etive that follows an indistinct path, something you might see more on a fell race than a trail race. But trust me, it's well worth that kind of 8 kilometres out of 100 for the rest of the route. It's a brilliant connection that makes everything logical. How do I talk about the Allochmore Anarchy? It's pure madness. You're following the mountain bike trails up and down. It's a wild test of endurance and nerve. It's probably my favourite race actually. The first time I ran it, I enjoyed it so much I just circled back round and went and did it again. And then our trail races in the Allochmore Forest. These are on excellent single track paths, mountain bike trails and those gravelly forest roads. It's very runnable. They'll be wonderful for a fast or steady away trail race. I want to make all this clear because we don't organise our events for the lowest common denominator, and as an organising team we have quite a high threshold for poor weather and challenge. So please come prepared for whichever race you're doing, and we'll hopefully be able to facilitate an amazing experience for you. I want to make it really clear what our priorities are. It's always quite odd seeing myself as on the slide. I should have known it was coming. So I want to make it really clear what our priorities are. So our number one priority is the safety of the event team. So mostly I'm thinking about staff deployed to the hills, but not always. Then it's your safety, next priority, and then fluid logistics and operations. So I need to think about the safety of the event team, and it might be the catering team handling boiling water at 3 in the morning, or our van drivers, MPV drivers needing sufficient rest, our electrician handling 125 amps of power in a wet event village, and of course some of our mountain staff, they have 16-hour shifts out on the mountains. So when we are making considerations about event logistics, and often this boils all the way back down to cut-offs and course closure times, these are the things that are in my mind, and the runner's experience comes secondary to the safety of the event team. My golden test is always for the event team and actually the participants is, can you drive home safely at the end of potentially a tiring but hopefully fantastic weekend? I will be clear that if anyone falls outside of our logistical plan, and again I'm generally coming back to cut-offs and course closure times, then you will be retired from the event. Please don't think I'm only a few minutes late. Of course they'll let me carry on. That is not what will happen. Okay, before you arrive at the event, indeed before you even set off, please have a decent read of the web page about your particular race and the info pack. There's loads of really important information there about parking and timing and registration and mandatory kit. I'm not gonna go over it again. Now it's your responsibility to read it and make sure you've got it all organised before you set off. Mandatory kit. So the mandatory kit is the minimum recommended clothing and equipment for each of the races. So please check the website. Again, I'm not going to break down the details here. Each race is slightly different depending on the seriousness and remoteness of the race. Please read it and make sure you have it with you. So when you come to registration, if you're doing the Ben Nevis Skyline, Jacobite 100, or the Steel Marathon, you'll need to bring your race pack, and your GPS tracker is attached to your bag. For all the other races, you don't have a GPS tracker. And I'll talk more about kit check in a moment. So the event village is a wonderful atmosphere, and of course we're in a new venue. So we're moving from, or have moved from, Kinlochleven to the Nevis Range. The Nevis Range has hosted some of the biggest mountain biking events in the world, and it's going to be a brilliant kind of blank canvas for us to allow Skyline Scotland to evolve to the next level. At the event village you'll find car parking, registration, info point, medical centre, medical tent, shakeout runs start and finish there. The races all finish there, and most of the races start there. So you should know Steel Marathon starts in Kinlochleven and Jacobite 100 starts at Bridge of Orkney. On Saturday evening there'll be an absolutely fantastic prize giving ceremony and live music. Don't miss that. And then of course there's various brands exhibiting in the event village. It will be great. So when you start your race, that is when you will be kit checked. So there will be pens that you need to filter through there'll be channels that you need to filter through to get into the start pen, and you will be kit checked as you go through. And if you do not have the kit, you will not be able to start. It is that simple. There will be you'll have the minutes that are spare to run back to a car or go to the shop and buy something if you don't have it, but we will not let you start if you do not have the mandatory kit. So what I would say, if you're unsure about your kit, bring it to registration and ask a question. If you're unsure about your kit, come to the start pen early and leave yourself time. If you're kind of slow and you're faffing and you're delayed with registration and then you've got a query about your kit, the race will start on time. Okay. Right, following the race routes. The race routes are flagged marshalled and signed. So in this picture you can see a little orange flag. So all of the mountain races have plentiful orange flags. And then the trail races, because they're on absolutely bomber trails, we use a little bit less flagging, but we do use directional arrows when there's a junction or a change of direction. All the races are well marshalled, and they also follow the main path. So there's no kind of like tricky route finding, no sneaky shortcuts. Just follow the main path, and it should be very clearly flagged and signed at all times. If you don't see the signs or flags, then probably something has gone wrong. I mentioned cut-offs earlier. They will be enforced. They're there for everybody's safety, but most importantly, they're there for the safety of the event staff, so please respect them. Sometimes extraordinary situations happen, and about the only extraordinary situations which may allow us to deviate is if you stop to help an injured runner or member of the public. If that happens, we will do everything we can to facilitate you carrying on with the race, but ultimately there's not a huge amount of flexibility with that because it's staff on hills and staff that need to go home. What I would say, if you make a decision to go slowly with your mate or another runner because they're tired and a bit cold, that is a choice you are making. That's not stopping to help an injured runner. And I'll talk about the kind of things we consider to be emergencies in a moment. Retirements. It is not possible to retire on the courses. I mean like on the mountains. They are remote, they're a long way from any roads. The only places that you can retire are the support points, and we will facilitate a journey back to Fort William or the Nevis Centre if you retire at a support point. The only help we provide on the course is emergency help only. So what is an emergency? So first of all, what I would say is if you have any doubts, phone event control. So the event control phone number is printed on all of your race bibs. So look at your race bib, phone the number. An emergency is any immediate threat to life or limb. So kind of things that we would consider an emergency is any head injury, any collapsed runner for whatever reason, chest pain, or an MSK injury, a musculoskeletal injury that stops you moving or means you move so slowly that you become cold. So those are things that we would consider an emergency. If you're in doubt, phone event control. They will give you some advice, and we're very happy to help, and we'd much rather help early than wait till it becomes more serious. The GPS trackers also have an SOS button on them, but if you can phone us. That is the best way to talk to us and communicate what the nature of the problem is. What I would add finally is the people most likely to help you in an emergency are our event staff on the hill or runners around you. So use every effort to gain their attention, and it might mean using a whistle or shouting for help or sending another runner to alert the next marshal on the race. Why I always highly recommend that our participants phone our event control before they do anything else if there's an emergency is because we have a dedicated event control team and a dedicated response team. These are made up of mountain rescue team members, emergency service team members, and you will get a gold standard response to a serious incident. Every incident is different. Every incident has a different kind of response, and these images here are from two different incidents at the Cape Wrath Ultra in 2022. But our response team are a ring-fenced resource deployed to the event and able to come to your aid on the course immediately, and you will get a faster response from our event control response team than you will if you dial 999. I would add, without any hesitation, if other statutory emergency services are needed, we will call them at the earliest opportunity. but it's a lot easier for us to coordinate that than somebody on a mountainside. Okay, so there's a few things that I'd really like to emphasize about your behavior as a runner. So it's really important because everybody at this event is ambassadors for future editions. Please don't jeopardize our access arrangements and the good relationships we have with landowners and stakeholders. So I'd like to emphasize, you have no special right of way over other walkers, runners, mountain bikers, so please be polite. You must follow the flags and keep to the intended path. Please do not cut corners. It is actually in the rules of the event that is a disqualification offence if you cut the corners, and I'm thinking here particularly about zigzag paths in the mountains. Please follow instructions from our staff on hill, and if you see some litter and it looks like a gel packet, something like that, just pick it up. Probably the runner in front of you dropped it by mistake. They were maybe stuffing it in a pocket. Pick it up, do yourself a favour, do all of us a favour. That leads into what you shouldn't do: drop litter, cut corners. And then probably the golden rule for us is leaving the event without returning to the start. So if you register, please ensure you return to the finish if you do not finish the event or you want to leave the event without completing the full course. Finally, I'm going to mention toileting. So a couple of things. Some of them are just about politeness, particularly for the blokes. If you need a wee, please step away from the trail and think about the next participant who might be coming behind you who you haven't seen. They don't want to have a surprise. If you need to go for a poo, what I would strongly ask is, first of all, do your business at the start. There's always toilets at the start. At the support points, there's portaloos at all of the support points, or actual toilets where the support points are in buildings. But if you absolutely get caught short, a couple of options. So all of our hill staff, the hill marshals, will have these like wag bags. These are these bags that you can put human waste into. That's loads better than pooing on the trail. If you're caught short, that's not an option. Go well away from the trail, dig a hole. You can kick a hole with your heel of your shoe and bury human waste. That's really, really important. It is a specific request from a number of the stakeholders that we don't have 2,000 people all leaving human waste around our race route, and it's really obvious why that's not particularly nice. There's another final thing. I'm kind of wrapping up here actually, that I really want to emphasize to all of the participants, and that's talking about inappropriate behavior. So this is really, I'm speaking on behalf of our female participants in particular, who are occasionally subject to inappropriate behavior and comments. Often this is just silently tolerated, but I want to make it clear that that is not acceptable, and as the event director, I am not going to tolerate and accept inappropriate and unwanted behavior and attention. So I'm going to give you some examples. Please don't feel like I'm lecturing to you, because that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to maybe speak on behalf of a silent, not majority or minority, but a silent equal group of people within the event. So first of all, please don't assume that these ad hoc relationships or pairings that can happen on a course when you're running together have some kind of romantic intent. Often it's just polite friendship, and that is exactly one of the wonderful things of running with somebody else on a trail. Please don't presume that a lone female participant wants a male partner to run with. Please don't presume that it's unacceptable to leave a lone female participant on their own, especially at night. And that kind of leads into the next point, is please don't presume that that female participant is any less competent or experienced than a male participant. Please don't presume they need help with navigation or route choice. Please don't make comments and jokes and banter about how a female participant looks. So for example, and this is a real example, running past somebody and saying, "Nice legs, love." That is not acceptable. Nobody's ever run past me and said that. That's no comment on my legs. Absolutely, jokes, banter that have a sexual nature or innuendo, it's just not acceptable. And then two things, start pens. The start pens can be quite crowded at times. Just please be considerate about the female participants and each other, and just give each other enough space so people don't feel crowded and you don't push into their personal space. Another thing that I'd like to mention is, can you imagine you're maybe the 20th place male and you're catching the first place female on a race route, and that first place female deserves that moment to run down that finish chute and celebrate properly. Whilst you absolutely are entitled to race and you may want to do that, just give a moment's thought about whether you might be potentially spoiling a really special moment for the first or second place female because you don't want to be beaten by a woman, because that's how it looks often for everyone else watching. And then finally, uninvited touching and hugging. It happens and it's not acceptable. So a lot of this can actually be dealt with by just speaking to each other. So if you're running together and you find yourself in one of these ad hoc pairings, just say, "Is it okay if we run together?" And just be alert to the subtleness of somebody saying, "It's okay, you push on," or "Actually, I'm just going to pause and get my waterproofs out." Don't then go, "Yeah, oh, well, I'll wait for you." That's probably a very subtle and polite way of saying, "I'm happy on my own, thank you very much." In the dark, then I'm thinking particularly about the Jacobite 100. If you're catching up another runner, give them a call and say, "Hi, I'm John, I'm taking part in the Jacobite 100. Although it's very unlikely there'll be a stranger somewhere there, it can be a bit intimidating having a headlight kind of chasing you down in the dark. And of course, our own staff, if they're coming out to a participant, particularly in the darkness, they will say something like, "Hello, this is Shane from Skyline, Scotland. Is that Jane Doe?" They will introduce themselves so you know that you're dealing with somebody from the event. I hope that's not too heavy-handed. We are doing this because we have had some really good feedback from our female participants that this is an important thing, that it is sometimes spoils people's events, and whilst it is very rare, hopefully we can make it rarer still. There we go. So I haven't mentioned everything. Please read the emails that we've sent you. Please read the information on the website. Please read the information pack. I hope you have an absolutely amazing time at Skyline Scotland. I'll look forward to welcoming you all to the event, and let's hope that the weather is going to be better than expected. Okay, thanks very much.